will be part of the system, so you must understand the system. You will further the cause of social justice. You will exercise governance, so you must know the governance. So polity remains undoubtedly perennially important. PT365 offers a very holistic approach that you can cover the entire year's current affairs in a stipulated material, in a small, concise, precise, succinct material, which is to the point. So PT365, first thing, it does justice by precisely, concisely putting what are the topics that are important for this year. Otherwise, in a newspaper, you will find so many things happening every day. There is a saying that let's uncomplicate. So PT365 is uncomplicating the plethora of facts and making it easy for the student.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of Vision IAS related to Prelims Examination 2025. Today we will discuss about preparation for current affairs for Prelims, specifically related to polity subject. And to discuss it, we have today an esteemed faculty of Vision IAS, Amil sir. Welcome sir.
Welcome.
Sir, before we start this discussion, can you tell our aspirants how important polity as a subject is for Prelims exam?
Polity as a subject, of course, is very important because you will be part of the system and you'll exercise powers through the constitution, primarily through the law and the rules, okay? And also one has to have the understanding of the entire political system. So without a shadow of doubt, polity is undoubtedly, if I would not say the most important, but one of the important things, because you will be part of the system, so you must understand the system. You will further the cause of social justice. You will exercise governance, so you must know the governance. So polity remains undoubtedly perennially important.
Sir, what is the weightage of polity in prelims exam?
Weightage of polity, I would say around 12-13 questions are direct. Okay, there are few questions which are interdisciplinary in nature, like social justice and governance, where they will be analyzing your they will check your understanding of the governance and the schemes and all. So I would say roughly 13 to 17 questions would be from the polity section. When I say polity, I do incorporate governance also and some elements of social justice, because it is pretty tough to dissect them in a black and white way. But yes, there is a gray area, so that is.
And sir, what portion of this, like you talked about 13 to 17 questions are there related to polity or governance? So what portion of this is actually related to current affairs?
See, if you see post 2021, I can see some shift in UPSC post 2021, especially in prelims. Means they have maintained the convention since they revised the syllabus in 2013. They have increased the element of current affairs, analyzing skills and all. They do test. Current affairs, I would say very few questions now are questions which are directly asked, that who takes a decision under the 10th schedule, or for that matter, on what grounds reasonable restrictions can be imposed, or which article is what is the mandate of Article 17, or what is the text of Article 23. These factual questions they hardly ask. If I can hardly remember 2-3 questions. So current affairs has a very, in mains too, it has a brutal weightage. In prelims also it has at least 9 to 10, 4 to 5 questions would be from static. Rest would be some or the other way related to current affairs. One thing more, in one question they will have 2 or 3 statements. One question would be static and other 2 can be dynamic. For example, they are talking about office of governor, approval of bills. So they may mention a statement from Article 200 of the Constitution. The second or third statement would be the judgment of Supreme Court on how the assent of bills will be given by the governor. So there is a weightage of current affairs. Strong weightage of current affairs.
So sir, like as you mentioned, the current affair, it becomes very important for polity subject. So how does Vision aids aspirants in preparing for current affairs in a better way?
See, if I be impartial, without a shadow of doubt, PT365 happens to be the monumental thing when it comes to current affairs. It is, being an impartial statement, it is the benchmark for the industry. Almost a great deal of students, I would not say all, but almost a great deal of students, irrespective of their geographical location, irrespective of their academic background and what sources they are referring, at the end they will go through PT365. That is quite mundane and that has been a settled proposition, a settled norm in the industry. Why? Because PT365 offers a very holistic approach that you can cover the entire year's current affairs in a stipulated material, in a small, concise, precise, succinct material, which is to the point. So PT365 undoubtedly, if I have the liberty to say, I would say it is indispensable. It is indispensable.
So sir, how does PT365 cover the subject of polity for prelims?
Polity, what they do is they primarily divide into 2-3 aspects. For example, if there is a judgment on sedition, S.G. Vombatkare case 2 years back, that was a. For example, there is a judgment on Madarsa, validity of Madarsa Act of UP, or for that matter, the judgment of Aligarh Muslim University minority status, or the aspects related to preventive detention. So many judgments. So what they do first, they will put the background, that what is the article of the Constitution, for example, Article 22, Article 25, Article 30, right of to establish and administer minority education. So then we'll say what is the judgment of Supreme Court. Then they will say what are the challenges. Okay, matlab what are the shortcomings, what can be, and way forward. So it gives you a very holistic. In the bracket also they put the articles of the Constitution. For example, if they are talking about tribunals, so in the bracket they will give Article 323A, 323B, Administrative Tribunals Act. What are the provisions? Then left hand side they will write if there is a judgment and what are the improvements that can be done and the challenges associated. It gives you a very holistic way, especially PT365. Even if the questions are conceptual in nature, okay, which they are of late, they are, then PT365 will broadly horizon your intellectual aptitude and give you a very comprehensive understanding of that particular topic. At least from that topic, if there is a question, a student will easily sail through.
So as you mentioned, the questions have become dynamic and they are not now segregated that this is static or this is current affair. So how does PT365 address this?
PT365, that I already said, it interlinks the static and the dynamic part. First important thing. Second important thing, that the probabilities, okay, because you know everything is happening. The UPSC Prelims syllabus says current issues of national and international importance. This is the exact line mentioned in the syllabus. Current issues of national and international importance. Even if we set aside international importance, there are 193 member states in US. National importance also, from Leh to Kanyakumari, Rameshwaram, from Itanagar to Gandhinagar, ample of things are happening. So if for a student it becomes a very panoramic, a very wide to shoot in the dark. So PT365, first thing, it does justice by precisely, concisely putting what are the topics that are important for this year. Otherwise, in a newspaper you will find so many things happening every day. What is important from a student point of view, based on our experience? See, we cannot be prophetic on that count. We can only, to the best of our ability, what God has bestowed, we'll try to judge. So by and large, it has been successful in attaining the demand of the examination, because the open prelims, especially mains to UPSC, has been very benevolent and magnanimous. They have detailed out the syllabus. Prelims, they have used a very open-ended statements like Indian Constitution, political system, Panchayati Raj, rights issue, etc., which etc. is a dangerous term. Okay, so but PT365 does justice by precisely bracketing what is the current affairs of this year, which is important. There may be one or two questions which they will ask from outside, but most probably, if doing justice, it will do justice to a large sum of current affairs, which is likely to be covered from that.
So as you mentioned, there is also shift towards questions and topics being complex in polity now. Like complex topics and concepts being asked in the examination. So how does PT365 simplify this complexity for better understanding of the students?
Complex topics like, see, the mundane and the cliche ones, like we have been doing in the class, we are trying to incorporate current affairs already. So those topics which are mentioned in the standard textbooks, like if you will open, for example, any standard textbook, they will give you a definition of secularism. Getting what UPSC says, or they'll give a definition of liberty. UPSC will ask what is the best definition of liberty, and 2-3 definitions would be at least 2 would be absolutely correct. They are asking which is the best definition, or 2 would be correct in some scenarios, although it may not be. So in those, or which of the following best protects fundamental rights, or equality means, so this is something where 2 options are correct. Okay, so then you have to mark the most appropriate one. For that you have to have an understanding which is missing in the conventional textbooks. If I do not have the liberty of time, but I can talk about so many things. For example, if you talk about veto powers, it is mentioned in the book that absolute veto, qualified veto, suspensive veto and pocket veto. Nowhere in the Constitution veto is mentioned. Veto is an interpretation of Article 111. So there is a difference between what the text says and for example, simple majority, special majority, effective majority and absolute majority. These terms, effective, absolute, simple, special, are not mentioned in the Constitution. Similarly, there are many things which are mentioned in the book but not mentioned in the Constitution. So these are clarity that PT365 gives ki bhai, this is mentioned in the Constitution, this is an interpretation of the Constitution. So PT365 in a way, in the standard textbook, what is the gap and what is the background background of that information. This background is also very important. For example, we are talking about States Reorganization Act. So in States Reorganization Act was, so what is the background of that law, or why the new Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita has community service as a new punishment, or what are the types of courts that are established under section 6 of Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita. Although BNSS is not our syllabus, but broadly some things that you need to know which is missing in the standard textbook, which is either provided in newspaper, which is spread across the year, so you will not be able to cover. Second, it is not conventionally available at one place. So incorporating the static, incorporating the missing part, incorporating the synopsis of the newspaper throughout the year, and your analysis of the same, that is provided at one place. Now, see, this is the reason why PT365 has become so popular. But there are some things which doesn't even require an attestation. But yeah, of course, it is the most sought after.
Sir, so now what is the best way a student can use this PT65, or how can they incorporate this PT365 in their preparation for prelims?
Incorporate, they can say, first, I would say ki PT365 cover, they must cover in entirety. Okay. Second, what you call, while going through them, so almost all the things are there. Some articles, for example, they are mentioned. If some article is mentioned, for example, Article 200 is mentioned, approval of bills, or Article 111 is mentioned, that by the President approval, or Article 72 pardoning powers, or freedom of speech and expression. So while reading those topics, once they can go through the what you call the constitution. Okay, first thing. Second important thing, ki it is actually a voluminous document. Okay, so you in that also some areas are relatively more important. Okay, like what you call way forward vagera, if there etc. way forward and all. So that in prelim stage of the examination, UPSC doesn't ask, but the core concept within, if anybody is a decent scholar, an average scholar also can easily find out that within PT365 also there are some things which are more important, and what they do, they put them in bracket. So actually, you know, it has been framed in such fashion that it is very, very lucid for the student. That is our prime purpose, I think. It must become, we see, there is a saying that let's uncomplicate. So PT365 is uncomplicating the plethora of facts and making it easy for the student.
Sir, one question that every student wants to ask you is that what topic from current affairs should they focus upon for upcoming exam?
When we talk about important topics, thankfully, by the grace of God, with all humility, we have been able to predict few questions. Okay, because predicting in prelims is relatively tough, because it is a heap of facts. Out of that, you have to predict few topics. But yeah, over the period of time, with experience and understanding the psyche of UPSC to the best of our ability, almost in last few years, some questions we have been able to gauge. Like I said, delimitation last year, it was a question. So I would say, while reading newspaper, those topics which are appearing time and again. For example, there is a protest going on. Okay, so they may ask on Article 19(1)(b), right to assemble peaceably without arms, 19(1)(c), right to form an association, union, or cooperative. That can be a question. Okay. Second important thing, since there is Armed Forces Special Power Act Manipur issue going on, so with respect to Article 34 of the Constitution, martial law, and Armed Forces Special Power Act Section 6, because UPSC has been asking questions from laws also, Section 6 and Section 3 and Section 2 declaration of an area as a disturbed area. So Article 34, Article 19 remains important. Places of Worship Act. So Article 25 of the Constitution. In that you have so many subject to public. What are the restrictions? What is the concept? And the basic structure doctrine. And most importantly, the doctrine of essential practices. That remains important. Then with respect to 4, I would say preamble. Concepts of preamble are very, very important. Okay. Regarding a few more things, that the role of Election Commission of India's recent elections that have been conducted. So UPSC has this habit of asking the next year. Okay. I am also expecting a question from Lok Sabha, something related to duration and all of Lok Sabha. They are going to ask a question. Okay. If we move ahead, if I try to frame just the articles wise, so if I'll say that with respect to the Parliament, I've already mentioned, then you have the Supreme Court. With respect to Supreme Court, the 75th, and although it has been quite long, but the recent change of that, the symbol of Supreme Court, where the lady that dispenses justice is now no more blindfolded. So something related to that can be asked. And what you call the idea of justice, they can ask a question from political theory class 11th. What is the idea of justice. Okay, then we go to the office of governor. This time again remains important also. With respect to state legislative council, there can be, it's been a long time that they have not asked a question, what is the composition of state legislative council? One office I think can also be office of vice president. Why? Because there was a removal motion under article 67 of the constitution that was introduced. So I think, although next time before prelims, if we have a conversation, then I'll be in a better position to give more topics. This was just, I'm just thinking on my feet. So these are the topics which I can recollect now.
Thank you so much, sir, for guiding our aspirants.
Thank you. It was great pleasure.
So aspirants, I hope that you are able to get a good idea now from the insights shared by the sir how to prepare for upcoming prelims examination for polity current affairs. And if you want to know more about PT365, please do visit our website. Thank you.